Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Today we are just quickly going to discuss my January TBR, if anybody has any interest in that. I'm filming this the same day I'm filming my January TBR, which I just filmed, and I think that's going to be posted first, so you kind of got a hint with what's on my TBR from that, but I thought we'd just go over all of them quickly here, because why not? I'm wearing my Devils hoodie. They're currently playing. They haven't scored a goal yet. So, anyways, let's start with the TBR. Okay, so with the TBR, I wanted to stick to what I did last year. Last year I did 25 for 2025. So this year we're doing 26 for 2026. Did I finish my TBR last year? Nope. I had a good 7 books left on there. Did any of those books make this TBR? Yes, actually, one did. I was gonna be like, nope. One did. I am such a liar, and I apologize. Yeah, quite literally only one. But the other ones are still on my TBR. Just not this one. They're on my physical TBR. Sorry to the ones that got demoted. I still love you, I promise. You'll get there. It just wasn't your time to read. So let's go on to this. We have, I also have a post-it note. So I have 20 on this cart right now. And I have 6 that are on this post-it note because they are new releases for 2026. And I only allowed myself 6 new releases. Should we go over those first? Let's not. We're gonna save those for last. Since y'all probably got the hint of what's on this TBR anyways in the last video, we're gonna wait until the end for those. Should we start with romance or fantasy? Or mystery? Let's just start at the bottom of the cart, because why not? You can practically see. Now let's start at the top. This is a mess. I apologize. So at top we have all of our romance books plus one fiction. The one fiction I have for this year is Beartown by Fredrik Backman. I'm so intrigued by this. This is definitely a winter read. So I either have to read this within January or February, or I'm going to have to wait till December. Because I probably won't be in the mood to read it in the spring, summer, or fall. So hopefully we'll get to it. We're going to complete the TBR this year. Actually, positivity, we are going to read all these books. And now our romances. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 7 that are not a part of our new releases. I will give you a hint for the new releases. There's 4 romances, 1 fantasy, and 1's like an academia romance. Anyways, back to this. Our one fiction, Beartown. This is a mess of a video already. I apologize. Our 7 romance. Our first one is Fragile Sanctuary by Catherine Cowles. From what I've heard, this is a romance mystery series, and I really enjoyed the Eden series by Daphne Perry, which is like romance mystery, and I needed more. And my friend Maddie was like, I'm pretty sure the Sparrow Falls series is like has the mystery aspect in it, and I said, sign me up. So I bought the first book. So that's on our 2026 TBR. Have I said 2025 this whole time? Next up, we have 2 Ali Hazelwood books. We have Problematic Summer Romance and Not in Love. I primarily have Not in Love on here because I really want to read Problematic Summer Romance. And from what I know, the sister of this is her brother's book. So we have the characters, same characters within the books. And this takes place at their wedding. So I want to read both of them this year. For sure. I also want to read Deep End if I get the chance, but that's also going to be more like summary if I do get to that. But I want to read this in February, and I want to read this in the summer. So I'm excited for that. And then next we have Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. Meet Me at the Lake. This is the 2nd book of hers. It's not really a series, but they all have like similar covers, and I just want to think they are a part of a series, but they're not. This is her 2nd book, and it's major summer vibes. I was gonna do Our Golden Summer because I've read every summer after, but I just can't read books out of order. So we will be doing Meet Me at the Lake. Because I've been meaning to get this. I've read Every Summer After in 2023. And I was going to read Meet Me at the Lake in 2024. Nope. I read Every Summer After in 2024. Why are years so confusing? And I was going to read Meet Me at the Lake in 2025 and I never did. So now it's on my 2026 TBR. And if we're in that good of a summery vibe, I'll probably also read The Summer Will Be Different and One Golden Summer. Since One Golden Summer has some characters that were in Every Summer After. You know what I mean. Alrighty, I had to change this camera angle because my feet got tired of me sitting on them. So I had to sit down lower. Anyways, the next book on the 2026 TBR is Consider Me, Becca Mack. I've been really wanting to read this series for a while. I just never bought the books. And I know Breathe With Me was the last one of the series and that came out last month or November. October. And now that they're all out, and 2026 seems like a great year to read the series. So Consider Me, Becca Mack, hockey romance series, the Playing for Keeps series. I'm very excited for it. And then our next one is Please Don't Go by E. Salvador. I saw a quote on TikTok a few months back and I was like, I need to read that book. So I got it physically so I could read it because if I'm remembering correctly, it's not available on Kindle Unlimited.
This is lie, liar told you that.
And I'm just so intrigued by it. He's a baseball player. They're both in college. He plays baseball at the college. I know there's a lot of like grief talk in here and I'm just very intrigued by the story. And I don't remember what the line was that I saw on TikTok that made me buy this book immediately, but I'm very excited to read this. And I was looking at the trigger warnings before and I was like, ooh, this seems like it's going to be a heavy book, which is kind of funny considering it's a yellow cover. But also look at that, isn't that such a lovely cover? Please Don't Go, E. Salvador. I don't want to say, I am excited about this book, but I'm also like a little nervous about it because based off the trigger warnings, it's going to be not a tough read, a sad read. And then last for the romance, we have Beach Read, Emily Henry. I've only read 2 Emily Henry books. I know, shocking. I read People We Meet on Vacation and Happy Place. Reverse that order and that's the order I've read them in so far. But I wanted to read another Emily Henry book this year and I wanted to add one onto my TBR. And I've always heard such good things about Beach Read and Augustus Everett. So I was like, that's what we're gonna do. And I also bought the collector's edition of this because it is just so pretty. Let's move on to our mysteries. We have 2 mysteries on the 2026 TBR. First up, we have The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I've been meaning to read this for freaking ever. If you've seen my past month TBRs, this has been on like at least 4 of them. And I've never gotten to it, so I'm like, let me put on my 2026 TBR because we will be getting to it. Not me spoiling the start of the fantasy ones. The other mystery thriller type book we have is the one and only Riley Sager book I have, the only one left. I really want to try to get more into mysteries and thrillers this year because I primarily stick to romance and then throw in fantasy here and there. But I'm trying to be more diverse in my reading this year. So we put 2 mysteries on the TBR. Alrighty, we're moving on to fantasy romantasy. The first book is The Song of Achilles, Madeline Miller. This was one of the very first books I ever have put on my TBR. But it wasn't a physical TBR for a while. But I've always wanted to read this since like day one of getting back into reading. And this year is the year. Also with heated rivalry lately, everyone's been comparing Connor and Hudson to Achilles and Petro. Everyone's been comparing Connor and Hudson to them and I can't get it out of my head. And I remember this was going to be adapted and then they scrapped it and somebody needs to pick it back up so Connor can play Achilles. Please. Maybe I will. With what money? Anyways, the next one we have is Heavenly Bodies by Imani Irayu? I don't know how to say her last name. I apologize. I'm gonna have to look that up. But I've heard so many good things about this when looking up fantasy recommendations. And from peeking on the inside, like the gods that have to do with this fantasy world, I think they're based off of like tarot because if you look at the names on the inside, they're very, 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 very close to like Aries. We have Gemini, Cancer. I'm forgetting all of the names. Scorpion, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. Like they're all very close to it. Like instead of Aquarius, it's Aquaria. Instead of Pisces, it's Piscea. You see what I mean? I'm just so intrigued by this. Our next one is one of my most anticipated reads for the year, Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider. I've been holding off on reading this book because I want to read it right before Lightwheeler comes out, the second book in this duology series. And I've heard so many good things about this, and I just want to read it right before Lightwheeler comes out. So that's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for April to read this. And then the next, this is the one and only book that I didn't read, or the one out of like 7 books from my 2025 TBR that I didn't get to, that I transferred over to my 2026. And it's The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, V.E. Schwab. I was just so intimidated to pick up this book every time I'd get close to it. I don't know why, but we're getting over that fear in 2026. Same with Song of Achilles, and we're going to read them. I've heard so many good things about it. I've been so intrigued by this storyline for years. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. And then the last fantasy on the shelf, because I have like 5 more on the bottom. Divine Rivals, Rebecca Ross. I have yet to read this. My best friend Maddie has been begging me to read it. And I was like, you could put like, because I couldn't decide between a few books. So I was like, let me get Maddie's opinion. I was like, if you had to choose a book to put on my 2026 TBR, what would it be? To nobody's surprise, she said this. So I should have just had it on there to begin with. So we will be reading this in 2026. Alrighty, and then the bottom row, we have hardcovers of fantasy. There's 5 of them. The first one we have is Dragonfall by L.R. Lamb. This is a queer fantasy, which I'm so excited about. I've been wanting to read it for a hot minute, and I feel like we need more mainstream queer romantasy. I'm bringing up Heated Rivalry once again because, like, Connor and Hudson, somebody may stop talking about them. They did are doing an audio series on Quinn. I only bought the subscription for the month so I could listen to this one thing, and it's a romantasy with Faye in that, and it's gay. And I was like, we need more gay mainstream romantasy. This is one of the very few I could name that's more well known. And I just need to read it because I've heard very good things about it. And it has dragons. Who doesn't love dragons? Also, look at the sprayed edge. Gorgeous. This year, I'm going to read some Rachel Gillig. And more specifically, The Night and the Moth. I was going to put One Dark Window on my TBR, but I would have put both on there. On my 2026 TBR, One Dark Window, Two Twisted Crowns. I would have just ended up putting both on my TBR, and I'm not trying to take up 2 spaces for it, so I chose her other book. But I'd like to read all 3 of her books that I know of, the duology and this. And I like this cover. The pink's pretty, but I don't know what type of paging that's called, but I just love it. And I'm very intrigued about this. I've heard very good things about it. So we're going to get to it in 2026 as well. I'm saying that about every single book. Because you know what? We're going to get to it. Next, we have Silver Elite by Dani Francis. Book 1, I feel like everybody knows this book. The second book comes out this year as well, which is why I put this on my TBR, because I want to read the second book. Ooh, bookmark, I got this bookmark at the store that I bought this at. So the Bookstore 1, I think it's called. Not One Bookstore, I think it's Bookstore 1. In Sarasota, Florida. I was there for like a week when Silver Elite and Shield of Sparrows came out, and I bought those books at that bookstore. And I got little bookmarks with them. Anyways, Silver Elite, I've heard you either... Why do I keep hitting myself in the face with books today? I've heard a lot of people love it, or some people will be like, meh. So we'll see. Next up, we are going to finish... This is a duology, right? Or is it going to be a trilogy? I think it's going to be a trilogy, actually. This is the second book, Eternal Ruin, Tigis Girma. I think Girma? I've looked it up so many times. Why does it never stick? I'm so sorry. Eternal Ruin, this came out a few months ago. I'm very excited for it. I really liked the first book, Immortal Dark. I think I rated it 4.5 stars, and I love the sprayed edges. This one says, love is the first enemy, death is the second. Maybe I should read this sooner rather than later. I already made my January TBR, but I might put this in there. I just saw Kaden's name. Ugh, I need to read this like ASAP. And then the last fantasy book that I have physically at the moment, because we still have the new releases to go through, Brimstone, Callie Hart. Everyone knows this came out November, I think. I read Quicksilver right before this came out so I could read this right after it came out. And then I never did. I just wasn't in fantasy headspace at that moment. And I was reading fantasy. I was kind of, I don't want to say I was in a slump, but it was difficult for me to read. But I think I'm going to do the audiobook for this. Primarily listen to the audiobook. That's what I did for Quicksilver. Anyways, I'm very excited for this. Really excited to see where it goes. It's a series, right? Not a duology. So there'll probably be another cliffhanger, but I'm excited. Their fates were forged in Quicksilver, but they will be fired in Brimstone. I'm so excited. I keep doing now, all the time. Somebody help me. Alrighty, the time you've been waiting for. The 6 new releases that are on my 2026 TBR. I'm going to say the release dates because I'm just that nice. These are quite popular authors or book series, so we should all be able to recognize the names. The first one comes out on March 3rd, In Her Own League, Liz Tomforty. I love Liz. She's one of my favorite authors. The Windy City series is one of, if not my favorite, romance book series of all time. I will read anything she writes, and I'm so excited for Monty and Reese. The next book comes out on March 24th, Hunt the Villain, Rena Kent, which is Julian and Vaughn's book. I'm very excited for it. She also has Tempting Venom coming out this year. That's not on my 2026 TBR, but I will be reading it when it comes out, which is Marcus and Preston. Very excited for that as well. But Hunt the Villain, back to it. Very excited for these two. They've been teased for a while, so I'm excited to learn about them. We have 2 April 7th releases. Great time because my birthday's on the 4th, so these are like birthday presents. First, we have Rites of Starling, which is book 2 after Sheila Sparrows. Sheila Sparrows was probably my top romantasy read of 2025, if I had to choose one. Great book. I'm so excited for the second book. I'll get to do a reread of Sheila Sparrows, probably. And I'm really excited to see where these characters go. We love Devney Perry in this house. We haven't read all of Devney Perry's books, but we want to. There's just a lot of them. Anyways, and then the second April 7th release is Rider by Jessica Peterson. I'm so excited for this book. I'd say it's the last in the series, but when she posted on Instagram the other day, there was a book called Cult, which Rider and Billy is Rider's book, and Colt is Billy's brother. So apparently Colt's getting his own book. So I don't know if it's part of the series, because I thought Rider was the last book of the series. Either way, very excited. Rider is going to be on the 2026 TBR. The next one comes out on May 19th. We have Elsie Silver's Fever Dream. Very excited to get some Julia Silva. Julie? I always mix up E's and A's names. And because it probably means we'll get a Theo cameo, and Theo's my favorite Chestnut Springs man. I'm very excited for it. And then the last book for the new releases and on my 2026 TBR comes out July 30th. It's Daybreak by Autumn Woods. The first book I have right here, so I'm gonna grab, is Nightshade. It's an academia romance. It was very, very good. I highly recommend it if you haven't read it. I read it a while ago. I read it in 2025. I don't remember exactly when. It's definitely more fall vibes, but I read it in like summer. But it was very good, and I'm very excited for the next book. Also, I won this free character art a while back. How cute. So I'm very excited for the second book. Intrigued to see where it goes. Alrighty, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing all the books that I plan to read in 2026. I would have gone more in depth on each book, but we would be sitting here for 2 hours because I don't know how to stop talking once I start. So I thought if I just name the titles, that would be good, considering all of these books were very popular online. So many people have read them already. So I feel like everybody knows what they're about. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, all the YouTube things, blah, blah, blah. I hope you guys had great holidays. Happy New Year. 2026 is going to be very good, very fun, very fresh. We're going to get out of our comfort zones. We're going to make moves. Alrighty. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day. See you next time. Bye.